Non, je reviens pas. Donc ça fait des jours et des jours que je cherche de la glycérine. Donc là, 5. Donc ça veut dire que je peux vraiment, donc là, si c'est sérieux, chercher. Bon, faudrait que j'aille à Gonfreville-Lorcher. Bon, soit je peux le faire, hein. Parc de l'estuaire. Valider ma commande. Bon, bah, madame, c'est pareil. Wow, cet article WordPress moche. Donc là. Ok, bah je voudrais juste acheter ça en fait, moi. C'est cher, mais c'est pas grave. Réponse un petit peu cancer, mais bon, c'est pas grave, blablabla. Ne pas savoir comment marche PayPal alors qu'on travaille pour eux. Copier-coller du truc. Bon, bref. Donc on annule. Ah, les conditions générales. Est-ce que je viens de me doc? C'est comme un grand? Non, c'est bon. Pour ma foi, c'est plutôt pas mal. Ok, cool.
And that is now you've got your moisturising alcohol-based hand sanitizer that you just wipe all over the surface of your hands, and now it's going to moisturise them as well as sanitise them. So if you do have access to things like Everclear or indeed rubbing alcohol, isopropanol, that would be a much greater strength, so that would be better. But this is the extra advantage that you can take it to work, sanitise your hands and then probably drink it while nobody's looking, because then it would look like you were drinking hand sanitizer, and that would be most suspicious. Let's go on to the next one of the most interesting ones, and it's the type that's used in many hospitals. It's an alcohol-free mousse sanitizer, and when you pump it, it just produces a thick creamy mousse. And many of these are based on one single chemical, benzalkonium chloride. In this instance, it's referred to as BAC 50 because it's already diluted to 50%, not because it's to make it safer in any way, because that's not safe in its raw form like this, but just to make it easier to process and handle because it is a nice convenient liquid form. I'm not going to open this at the moment because it's based on one single chemical sanitizer, and when you pump it, it just produces a thick creamy mousse. And many of these are based on one single chemical, benzalkonium chloride. In this instance, it's referred to as BAC 50 because it's already diluted to 50%, not because it's to make it safer in any way, because that's not safe in its raw form like this, but just to make it easier to process and handle because it is a nice convenient liquid form. I'm not going to open this at the moment because I've already made a mixture and I'd have to put gloves on to handle this. Even if you put the lid on, there's a tiny little drip down the side and you got that in your skin, it would cause skin damage. You'd end up with blisters because this is a very potent chemical. It's called a biocide, which sounds a bit severe, and it's used to control moss in paths and things like that as well. If you dilute it to a strong from this to a heavy dilution, I mean it really is just a fraction of a percent, and then just use a watering can to cover the moss and algae and paths, it will actually kill it and prevent its recurrence. But the thing is, in hand sanitizer, you don't use it at a very strong level. It's already diluted 50%, you're going to end up diluting it to just 0.1% or 0.2%. You think, well, how's that even going to make a mousse? Well, watch this. This is a solution that I've already made, which is partially diluted. It's diluted to just 1%, and to do that from the 50% dilution, you basically dilute it as 2 parts of that to 100 parts of water. So in the case of metric measurements, it would be 2 millilitres of this to 100 millilitres of water, 20 millilitres of this in this case to 1000 millilitres of water, or I suppose really in imperial measurements it could be 2 fluid ounces to 100 fluid ounces of water. That would get it down to a 1% concentration, but that's just the start. It has to be diluted further to make the hand foaming cleaner, and this is where I have to make a confession. I've been making this stuff for years, and I'm going to make this up to a slightly higher concentration. of close to 0.2% because it works better. So I've inadvertently been using this at the 1% because I thought it was 1% in the data sheet I was looking at. And that does produce an absolutely fantastic foam, but it's apparently a bit too strong. But I've been using it for years with no hand burning or adverse effects. So I put a small quantity of that in, I'm diluting it up with water. I'll add just a little bit glycerine to that again because it's just useful. It just has that slight moisturising effect. You don't need to add it if you don't want to. So I'll add a small quantity of that, and I shall put in the foaming nozzle. This is a foaming dispense that came already pre-filled with foaming sanitizer. It's got a little air pump down here that squirts a little bit of liquid up and then pushes air through a sort of mesh to actually foam it up. So I'm going to screw this on. I've possibly overfilled it. And now it's kind of mixed up, I should get a foam. And keep in mind this is a tiny percentage. But look, it produces quite a significant foam. You only need to put a couple of squirts on and rub it all over the hands. I have a paper towel here to rescue the situation here. However, I did screw up. I did make that at far too strong. I used it at 1%. And it produces a lovely foam. This is some of the original stuff. It produces slightly thicker foam, but I wouldn't recommend that. The recommended measurement is between...
Hi, with all the mass hysteria surrounding the novel coronavirus or COVID-19,
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
I thought I'd